Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys gave us a wild one this time.
Yeah, these excerpts from The Perfect Marriage, this Jeneva Rose book.
Oh man, where do we even start with this one? Forget just figuring out the mystery. I want to get inside these characters' heads.
It's a real psychological puzzle box, isn't it? And Rose is so good at setting up that atmosphere right away, like that description of the lake house, for example. It's supposed to be this idyllic retreat for Adam and Sarah Morgan, this picture-perfect couple.
Right, he's the successful author, she's the high-powered lawyer. But you hit on something, that lake house. The way Rose describes it, it's both beautiful and isolated, almost like it could be a place to hide something or someone.
Exactly. It's that classic sense of unease that seeps in right from the beginning. And you can't help but wonder, are they really escaping to this house, or are they trapped by it? And by each other, for that matter.
Okay, so let's talk about Adam and Sarah then. Because on the surface, they seem to have it all right. But something about the way Rose writes about their relationship, there's this underlying tension, almost like a rubber band stretched too tight.
And we know it's going to snap eventually, especially when you factor in the affair.
Oh, right. Adam and Kelly, his mistress. Those excerpts about their relationship. Steamy is one word for it, but there's this darkness there too.
You get the sense that Adam might have a bit of a history with taking things too far, as he even admits at one point.
Yeah, that line gave me chills. So we've got this successful author with a wandering eye and maybe even a dangerous streak.
And a wife who might be more than meets the eye as well. Remember that line about her reaction when they question her about the affair? She's described as robotic.
Oh, I remember. So is that Sarah being genuinely shocked and trying to hold it together? Or is there something more calculated going on there?
See, that's what makes this so good. Rose gives us these little breadcrumbs, these tiny details about the characters, and it leaves us with way more questions than answers.
Okay, so we're going to have to dive into these characters a bit deeper then. Let's start with Adam, successful author, unfaithful husband, and now murder suspect.
Where do we even begin?
Well, before we get too deep into Adam, we got to talk about the victim, right? Kelly. She's more than just the mistress in this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. She's complicated, to say the least. I mean, that line where she says the only way to escape her husband is in death. Chilling. Talk about foreshadowing.
Right. And then there's that whole thing about her first husband's death, too.
Oh, yeah. Kelly claims she killed him in self-defense, but Rose is really good at making you question everything. Is she really telling the truth? Or is there something more to it?
Like, just when you think you're starting to understand her, Rose throws in another curveball.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's Adam's arrest. The excerpts describe how he finds out right after having this breakthrough with his writing. Talk about a crash back down to reality.
And his first instinct is to call Sarah. Not a lawyer, not his agent, but his wife.
It really highlights just how dependent he is on her. Even though he was the one who betrayed her, he still turns to her for help. It's fascinating.
Totally. And Sarah, she jumps right into action, like the legal eagle she is. But there's this one line that stood out to me. It's when she's at the sheriff's office, looking at Kelly's picture. And Rose writes that Sarah's expression wasn't one of grief, but of assessment.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, she's sizing up an opponent, even in death.
Yeah, like she sees Kelly as a threat, even though she's gone. It's kind of creepy, honestly.
And it tells you so much about Sarah, right? Even in the midst of this whole tragedy, she's still thinking strategically, analyzing everything.
Totally. And then we've got Scott, Kelly's husband.
Yeah.
He's like the classic image of a grieving, angry spouse.
But a little too on the nose, maybe.
Right. Like, is he really that upset, or is it all an act?
It makes you wonder if his rage is genuine, or if he's trying to manipulate the situation to his advantage. And the way both Adam and Sarah react to his anger is telling, too. Adam seems almost relieved by it, like it proves that Scott's the real killer.
And Sarah, ever the strategist, sees it as a way to create reasonable doubt, right?
Exactly. It's like everyone's playing a role in this whole thing. Even Adam's mother, Eleanor. She seems more worried about appearances and her son's reputation than the fact that he's accused of murder.
Oh, Eleanor is a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. But yeah, she's very much about keeping up that perfect image, no matter the cost.
Right. But then, bam, Rose throws us this major curveball, the DNA evidence.
Right. Not only is Adam's DNA at the crime scene, but there's a third unidentified sample. Who is this mystery person?
Talk about a game changer. Suddenly, everyone's a suspect again. It could be someone we've already met or someone we haven't even been introduced to yet. Rose keeps you guessing the entire time.
For real. And to make matters even more interesting, we've got Rebecca, the journalist, poking around in everyone's business. Is she really after the truth? Or is she just trying to make a name for herself off of this tragedy?
I don't know. She's definitely ambitious, that's for sure. And her investigation could either help Adam or completely bury him. So yeah, she's a wild card for sure.
She is. And while all this is going on, Adam's under house arrest. And what's he focused on? Finishing his book.
Classic Adam, right. Even facing a potential life sentence, he's still trying to craft a story.
It's almost like he's trying to escape from reality by writing, you know?
Oh, totally. And meanwhile, you can practically feel Sarah's world crumbling around her. She wants to believe Adam, but the evidence is piling up, and those doubts about his character just keep creeping in.
It's like she's caught between a rock and a hard place. She's his wife, but she's also a lawyer. And she knows that sometimes even the people we love are capable of terrible things.
Exactly. And that tension, that internal struggle, it just jumps off the page. Rose is so good at capturing the raw emotions of these characters. It's what makes this story so captivating. So we get to the trial, right? And even though we only have these snippets of the transcript, you can practically feel the tension in the courtroom.
Oh, totally. And Sarah, she is in her element. The way she picks apart the prosecution's case, it's like watching a masterclass in lawyering.
She's not just defending Adam, she's controlling the entire narrative. It's like she's writing her own story right there in the courtroom.
Exactly. But then, that moment when she collapses, what do you make of that? Was it a calculated move to sway the jury or a genuine breakdown?
I'm torn. Part of me thinks it was a brilliant strategy. Talk about a way to create reasonable doubt, right? But then another part of me wonders if the pressure of the whole situation, the weight of everything, just became too much for her to bear.
Right. Like maybe it was a bit of both.
It's impossible to know for sure, and that's what's so great about it. Rose leaves us guessing, even now.
Totally. So the excerpts sort of jump ahead then. We don't get to hear the verdict, but we find out Adam's on death row. Still writing, by the way.
Of course, some things never change, right? Even facing the ultimate punishment, he finds solace in stories.
It's both admirable and a little heartbreaking, you know? And Sarah, it seems like she's moved on with her life, but you can tell she's still haunted by everything that happened.
Oh, absolutely. There's this sense of lingering sadness, a feeling that justice, whatever that means in this case, wasn't really served.
Right. And what about Rebecca, the journalist? Did her investigation ever uncover the whole truth?
Who knows? Rose leaves so much open to interpretation. It's almost like she's inviting us, the readers, to write our own ending to the story.
I love that. It's like we're all detectives trying to solve this puzzle even after we've closed the book.
Exactly. And that's the mark of a truly great thriller, isn't it? It stays with you long after you've finished reading, keeps those gears turning in your head.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, I have to ask, would you recommend diving into The Perfect Marriage?
Oh, absolutely. If you love a good psychological thriller, one that keeps you guessing until the very end and makes you question everything you thought you knew about love, marriage, and the secrets people keep, this book is for you.
I'm sold. It sounds like a wild ride.
Yep.
All right, everyone, that's another deep dive in the books, or should I say, in this case, a deep dive into the excerpts.
We'll be back soon with another one. Until then, happy reading.